quickly, without thinking, who are your top favorite actors of all time? And I don't want you to think, just name off some names.
In Hollywood, the wrong mistake can end your career, and Steven Spielberg is the man you never want to cross. He's worked with more A-list stars than any filmmaker alive, but hidden behind the blockbuster hits is a secret blacklist. 7 actors, 7 unforgivable mistakes, and once Spielberg crosses your name off his list, it's gone forever. What they did will shock you. You think you know Spielberg, the warm, visionary storyteller behind E.T., Jaws, and Jurassic Park, but that friendly smile hides one of the sharpest memories in Hollywood. Spielberg doesn't just create films, he builds families. Tom Hanks calls him before making any big career move. Harrison Ford trusts him with his legacy. But loyalty with Spielberg is a two-way street. For every actor who earns it, there are others who learn, sometimes brutally, that crossing him means career exile. These aren't petty disputes or creative squabbles. These are breaches of his unshakable code. Show up ready, respect the process, and never ever put your ego before the story. What you're about to see is the list no one wants their name on. Spielberg's personal blacklist. Some were Hollywood legends, others were rising stars who threw it all away. And starting at number 1, Shylo, the once promising protege Spielberg pulled from Disney Channel obscurity, only to watch him burn the bridge they shared. He wasn't just cast in a blockbuster, he was handed the keys to one of the most legendary franchises in movie history. Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull should have been his golden ticket. Instead, Shia LaBeouf turned it into one of Hollywood's most jaw-dropping cases of biting the hand that feeds you. It started back in 2007 during filming. Crew members whispered that LaBeouf had a habit, an audacious one. He would openly question Spielberg's direction in front of the entire cast. He'd pitch his own scene changes, challenge the vision of one of the greatest directors alive, and do it all with the swagger of a man who seemed to forget he was replaceable. Spielberg, ever the consummate professional, let it slide. He saw raw talent worth shaping, even if it came with sharp edges. But then came 2010, and LaBeouf crossed a line you don't come back from. In an interview with the Los Angeles Times, he didn't just express regret, he threw the film under the bus. "I feel like I dropped the ball on the legacy that people loved and cherished," he admitted. But then he went further. You can blame it on the writer, and you can blame it on Steven. Read that again. He blamed Steven Spielberg, the man who had given him everything. And just like that, the hammer came down. No big public feud, no messy headlines, just a swift, silent erasure. LaBeouf was gone from Spielberg's orbit forever, quietly cut from every future project. In Hollywood, that kind of silence is louder than any scandal. In 2012, Spielberg was asked about difficult actors. He didn't drop a name, but every insider knew who he meant. His words were sharp, almost a warning. Gratitude is the foundation of all professional relationships. Without it, talent becomes noise. That was aimed straight at Shia LaBeouf. And once Spielberg withdrew his protection, LaBeouf's Hollywood safety net was gone. The promising star became better known for public meltdowns than movie roles. A brutal lesson in what happens when you bite the hand that built your career. Number 2, Shaun Bean, the method actor who pushed it too far. Bean's a legend for his intense performances and on-screen deaths, but his short-lived brush with Spielberg during Saving Private Ryan showed the dark side of method acting. Back in 1997, he was Spielberg's first choice for Private Ryan, the cynical soldier questioning the mission itself. It was a golden ticket, a role in what would become one of the greatest war films of all time. But from day one, Bean's approach created friction. He refused to drop his character's shell-shocked mindset, even between takes. Meals, still in character. Script talks, still in character. Even critical safety briefings for the massive battle scenes, still in character. Tom Hanks later said it felt like walking on eggshells, and it only got worse. During rehearsals for the iconic Omaha Beach landing, Bean went over the edge. Witnesses say he broke down completely, screaming about the horrors of war, not as part of the scene, but as if he was truly trapped in a foxhole under fire. It wasn't acting anymore. It was real to him. Too real. Production came to a grinding halt. For 2 days, the set stood silent, while Spielberg wrestled with a decision that could change the film forever. The legendary director, known for protecting harmony on set like a priceless artifact, finally made the call. Shaun Bean was out. Quietly, quietly, without fanfare, Edward Burns stepped in. He brought the same raw intensity to the role, but without the storm that came with it. Spielberg never told the public what happened, but those on set still remember the words he left behind. "I need actors who can find truth without losing themselves. Some people can't tell the difference." Bean's career rolled on, but he never stepped onto a Spielberg set again. A silent warning that even the purest dedication to method acting has its breaking point. Number 3. Megan Fox, the Hollywood golden girl who flew too close to the sun. Before she was a tabloid headline, she was a fast-rising star with the world at her feet. Michael Bay had handpicked her for Transformers, a Spielberg-produced blockbuster meant to catapult her straight to the A-list. But instead of becoming Hollywood royalty, she became a cautionary tale. It started in 2007, during the press tour for the very film that was supposed to make her a superstar. At just 21 years old, Fox began firing off one jaw-dropping statement after another, each one edging her career closer to the cliff. She thought she was just speaking her mind. Hollywood saw it as career suicide. At first, her complaints about the grueling demands of blockbuster filmmaking were brushed off. She compared working on action movies to being in a war zone. Spielberg, the franchise's executive producer, chalked it up to youthful frustration. He'd seen rising stars buckle under sudden fame before, but then came the interview, the one that sealed her fate. In 2009, while promoting a Spielberg-produced film, she told Wonderland magazine that director Michael Bay was like Napoleon and wanted to build an insane, infamous madman reputation. Then came the line that detonated her career. "He wants to be like Hitler on his sets, and he is." The Hitler comparison alone was a PR disaster, but in Hollywood's unspoken hierarchy, doing it while promoting a Spielberg project was like insulting the boss's son at a family dinner. You don't come back from that. Industry insiders say Spielberg's reaction was instant. He personally called the studio and insisted she be dropped from Transformers: Dark of the Moon. The public explanation? She had outgrown the franchise, but behind the scenes, it was crystal clear. Spielberg had quietly shut the door, and it would never open for her again. She didn't just leave the franchise. She was thrown out by one of the most powerful men in Hollywood. Michael Bay would later tell GQ exactly how it happened. Steven said, "Fire her, right now." That was it. Overnight, Megan Fox went from a future A-list superstar to taking small-time directing gigs and low-budget video roles. In Hollywood, some bridges don't just burn, they explode, leaving nothing but ashes. Number 4. Edward Norton, the perfectionist who pushed Spielberg too far. Edward Norton is hailed as one of the greatest actors of his generation. From Fight Club to American History X to Primal Fear, his performances are unforgettable. But his short-lived collaboration with Steven Spielberg on Munich in 2005 exposed the dark side of that perfectionism, and why even the best talent can become impossible to work with. On paper, it was a dream pairing. Norton landed a supporting role in Spielberg's intense thriller about the Israeli response to the 1972 Olympics massacre. Two artists obsessed with detail. Two minds that lived for the story. It should have been magic. Instead, it was a slow-motion collision. Norton's process is legendary. He researches every breath, rewrites lines in his head, and digs into every motivation until there's nothing left to unearth. Admirable, yes, but on a sprawling, high-pressure production like Munich, that kind of relentless questioning can grind momentum to a halt. And according to those on set, the trouble started before a single scene was even filmed. Right in pre-production, Edward Norton isn't just an actor. He's a one-man think tank. At script meetings, he'd arrive armed with pages of notes, character rewrites, and deep dives into historical accuracy. What should have been quick, creative discussions turned into marathon debates over every detail of the story. Spielberg, a director who values preparation but thrives on instinct, began to feel smothered. Edward wants to understand every molecule of his character, Spielberg once confided to a friend. But sometimes you need actors who can find truth in the moment, not just in research. The breaking point came during the filming of a pivotal scene, Norton's character receiving devastating news. It was scheduled for a half-day shoot. Norton turned it into a 3-day emotional experiment, demanding multiple takes to explore every possible reaction. The rest of the cast grew restless. The production slipped behind schedule. Spielberg, famous for running tight, efficient shoots, faced a choice: indulge Norton's endless artistic exploration or keep the project on track. He chose the latter. Norton finished his role in Munich, and while the performance earned praise, the experience left both men drained. Spielberg never called him again. Some actors need to understand everything, Spielberg reflected years later. Others trust the process. I prefer working with the second kind. Number 5. Julia Roberts, the pretty woman who wasn't so pretty behind the scenes. The year was 1991 and Spielberg was deep into developing Hook, his grand reimagining of Peter Pan. She was Hollywood's golden girl, fresh off Pretty Woman and commanding a jaw-dropping $7 million to play Tinkerbell. Steven Spielberg thought Julia Roberts would sprinkle magic and mischief over Hook, but what he got was one of the most toxic actor-director relationships of his career. From day one, the set felt different. Crew members whispered about her icy attitude. Roberts treated the elaborate flying sequences as if they were beneath her, complained endlessly about the technical demands of playing a fairy, and showed little interest in Spielberg's collaborative style. But the real storm wasn't in her diva moments. It was in her complete lack of preparation for a role she was being paid a fortune to play. The tension bled into every corner of the production. Dustin Hoffman, in full Captain Hook mode, described the atmosphere as suffocating. Robin Williams, the eternal peacemaker, found himself acting less like Peter Pan and more like a marriage counselor, trying to keep Roberts and Spielberg from exploding. Then came the breaking point. During a high-stakes scene where Tinkerbell confronts Captain Hook, a moment that demanded perfect timing and raw emotion, Roberts, flustered and unprepared, snapped. In front of the entire cast and crew, she told Spielberg his direction was confusing and unhelpful. For a director who had built his career on mutual respect, it was a jaw-dropping insult. The film limped to completion, but the damage was irreversible. Julia Roberts went on to become one of the biggest stars of the next decade. But Spielberg never called her again. Once she had been his perfect Tinkerbell. After Hook, she was the one actor he would never work with twice. Years later, when someone asked Steven Spielberg about the Hook experience, he didn't lash out, but his words cut deep. Some actors bring light to a set, others bring shadows. I've learned to work only in the light. Julia Roberts has never gone into detail about what happened. She didn't have to. Her complete absence from Spielberg's later films told the whole story. Bridges burned, trust shattered, and a working relationship erased. Number 6. Marlon Brando, the fallen god. This is the story of a collaboration that broke Spielberg's heart before it even began. Marlon Brando wasn't just another actor to Spielberg. He was the actor, the man who transformed screen acting with A Streetcar Named Desire and On the Waterfront. So when Spielberg got the chance to be on the set of Apocalypse Now in the late 1970s, watching his hero in action, he thought he was about to witness magic. Instead, he saw the legend's crown slipping. Brando arrived overweight, unprepared, and detached from the craft that had made him an icon. But it wasn't just the lack of preparation, it was the way he treated Spielberg. Witnesses say Brando looked him over and sneered, calling him the kid who makes movies about sharks. When Spielberg tried to talk to him about acting technique, Brando didn't just shut him down, he humiliated him. "You wouldn't understand," Brando said. "You make popcorn movies." For a young director who had idolized Brando since film school, it was a gut punch. And then came the final blow. Watching Brando act by reading lines off cue cards taped to other actors' foreheads. The genius was gone, replaced by a hollow imitation of the man who once redefined cinema. Years later, when Spielberg had the power to cast anyone in Hollywood, Brando's team reached out to suggest a collaboration. Spielberg didn't even have to think about his answer. The answer was always no. Sometimes your heroes disappoint you. Spielberg once admitted in a rare, unguarded moment. And when they do, it's better to preserve the memory than risk new disappointments. Marlon Brando died in 2004, having never worked with the director who once worshipped him. A harsh reminder that talent without respect for the craft is just wasted potential. Number 7. Katherine Higgel, the TV star who forgot TV made her. She wasn't a grizzled method actor or an untouchable Hollywood diva. She was a primetime darling at the height of her Grey's Anatomy fame, looking to leap into serious prestige cinema. And when she got a shot at working with Spielberg on Lincoln, she turned it into a masterclass in career sabotage. In 2011, Heigel's team pushed hard for a meeting to play Mary Todd Lincoln, the kind of role most actors would kill for. But when the day came, she arrived 45 minutes late. No apology, no explanation. Spielberg began sharing his vision for the film, and she interrupted, not once, but repeatedly, suggesting rewrites to a character she had never studied. The breaking point came when Spielberg asked about her preparation. Her answer? "I don't really do research. I prefer to bring my own interpretation interpretation to historical characters. The room went cold. Spielberg, a man who had spent years meticulously studying Lincoln's presidency, sat stunned. Minutes later, the meeting was over. One of the biggest opportunities of her career, gone before it began. In Hollywood, sometimes the role you don't get can change your life forever, and not in a good way. Katherine Higgel never heard back after her Lincoln audition. Instead, Spielberg handed the role of Mary Todd Lincoln to Sally Field, whose painstaking research and powerhouse performance earned her an Oscar nomination. But the real drama was happening off-screen. Word of Heigel's audition and her growing reputation for being difficult spread fast through Hollywood's tight-knit circles. Her past public shots at Grey's Anatomy's writing had already ruffled feathers. This just sealed it. Within 2 years, she was off television, film offers dried up, and the label of ungrateful and unprofessional stuck like glue. Spielberg never publicly addressed why he passed on her. He didn't need to. His casting choices told the story. He kept working with actors who respected preparation, research, and collaboration. Higel's swift fall from grace is a brutal reminder. In Hollywood, talent gets you in the room, but reputation decides if you stay. And once the industry decides you're hard to work with, even Spielberg won't call you back. But these 7 names? They're more than just a list of famous faces. They're living proof that raw talent isn't a free pass in Hollywood. Ego kills opportunity. Disrespect can end a career faster than a bad box office. Respect for the craft, for the crew, for the story isn't optional. It's the whole game. Steven Spielberg doesn't waste breath bad-mouthing these experiences. He doesn't have to. His silence is louder than any tell-all interview. Because when you're Spielberg, you don't chase difficult people. You choose the right people. And sometimes the most powerful move a director can make is never picking up the phone again. In a town built on connections, burning the wrong bridge doesn't just hurt. It can erase you. These 7 actors found that out the hard way. Their careers became cautionary tales for anyone foolish enough to believe fame makes them untouchable. Because here's the truth. In Hollywood, there's always someone out there who's more talented, more professional, and more grateful for the opportunity. And Spielberg, he's never had a problem finding them. So, which downfall shocked you the most? Whose story did you not see coming? Tell me in the comments. And if you want more untold Hollywood stories like this, the kind the industry would rather keep buried, hit subscribe and tap that notification bell.